Hello, this is Siri and you're listening to my favorite podcast, Not Real Art. I live for this shit cause it's totally lit.
Let's go!
Not Real Art, the podcast with your man one,
And your other man, Mr. X,
Mr. X.
and Man One today.
So I was in San Francisco
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago. Went to the San Francisco art market there.
Okay. San Francisco Art Market. What is that?
Well, it's a fair.
Okay.
Yet again, another fair.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. I mean, my assessment is that, there's this sort of tier of art fairs that seem to cater to what we'll call, new buyers or new collectors.
Sure. Okay.
There were, I don't know. I mean, I guess I have it written down somewhere, but 50 some galleries,
Okay.
give or take.
How big was the venue?
50,000 square feet,
Okay.
maybe,
Yeah.
and I got to say, I wasn't that impressed.
Right.
Felt like a lot of the art on some level was derivative,
Mm-hmm.
not wholly original.
Recycled.
Kind of, well, just motifs and metaphors and
Right.
elements and like that just you've seen before, or just being plagiarized. I mean, I to say it was plagiarized. Sorry, to say it was plagiarism
Yeah.
is probably not fair, but nothing new under the sun. But I wasn't seeing a whole lot of kind of new. What
Right.
struck me as new thinking.
Was there sales?
Sales seemed to be, well, let me put it this way. It was a well-attended show,
Okay.
right? There were a lot of people there.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I was there was to support Link Talon, who's a painter. He doesn't consider himself an artist, by the way. He considers himself a painter
Oh, really?
out of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I've known Link for 20 years. And he's an architect, builder, but he studied art.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been painting his whole career. But he has a gallery out of New York that sells his work.
Yeah.
And they had a booth there. He sold 4 paintings. His
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
price points are somewhere between $3,000 and $7,000.
Mm-hmm.
But he'll tell you, it's like, look, I'm a painter. This is decor. He's not, he doesn't think of his art or his work as art. He thinks of it as more decor than art, which is an interesting
Yeah.
conversation.
It's funny because the other day I got labeled as a painter and I changed it to artist.
Who labeled you as a painter?
This conference that I'm attending. But why would you want to limit yourself to a painter?
Well, I can't speak for Link, but I've known Link long enough that it's sort of my understanding that he has high regard for artists,
Mm-hmm. But he's also an architect, you said? And
Yeah, he studied architecture.
Carpenter.
He studied architecture and art in college.
yeah, it's weird.
And
It's interesting, though.
yeah, I mean, part of his strength is also his weakness, and that is he's sought after as a architect and a builder, doing residential homes and doing award-winning stuff. I mean, he's been in Architecture Digest. He's been but he's got this whole other side of himself where he loves painting, as a studio,
Wow.
and I'm proud of him because I've seen him. I remember when he was doing still life with pears and apples,
Right.
or whatever,
Right, right.
and to see his evolution, and in fact, 10 years ago, whatever it was, he started doing this whole study around circles and spheres, and that work has evolved into this whole new like line, body of work that he's now selling.
And what is it? More abstract?
Yeah, more abstract,
Yeah.
more evocative.
So do you think his clients or his collectors, I mean, it's just like you said, home decor? Like they're just trying to beautify their space, or do they actually love what they're seeing? I mean,
yeah, no, I think they really, I think his work resonates.
Yeah.
I think they're spending, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 because they really love the work.
Right.
But I think he's very careful to, maybe he's more too conservative.
Yeah.
To come out as an artist. He sort of goes out of his way to say, no, I'm a painter.
Wow. Okay.
But so it was, I'm proud of him.
Yeah.
Glad to see the show went well for him. It was great to support him and hang out with him. But the whole art fair thing,
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a growing segment of the marketplace, right, for the last 10 years. More and more fairs, more and more cities.
Mm-hmm.
But yet it seems like it's kind of, the trend is going downwards now based on some of the things that, I mean, heck, you sent me an article the other day that
Yeah.
now people are saying it's not worth it. I mean, because if you're a gallery,
It's freaking expensive, dude.
yeah,
It's expensive, especially if you're a big time gallery. You know,
Right.
just imagine if you're gonna sell a painting for $100,000. Just throw a number out. Imagine what it takes logistically to get $100,000 painting from like the West Coast shipped and hung,
right,
to the East Coast.
Sure.
And that's just one painting.
Right.
Just logistically, and then just the prices of all that stuff, and then to see if it sells. Wow, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, some of the galleries, right? I mean, some are bigger than others, whatever. But I mean, if you're like most galleries, small business, or I mean, it's that kind of cost is huge. And
Well, that's why they've had so many art fairs now. That's why everyone's doing the different smaller fairs, right? Because there's all these smaller galleries, independent dealers who can't compete at the big giant art fairs, but but are people coming to those? Are people buying at those other fairs? I don't know. That's it doesn't seem like it. I think there's always success for certain galleries or success for certain artists, but as a fair, is the fair winning? I don't know. Probably not.
yeah, who's making the money, right?
Yeah, who's making the money? And I mean, the fair is probably making the money.
Yep. That's what I was going to say.
They're charging for the booth space or all that stuff. But I'm saying, is the fair winning in terms of like, can they, turn around and say, hey, we've just sold X amount of paintings and we've supported X amount of galleries, and the majority of the people that showed with us, are going home with more money than they came with. That to me, that's how you judge success of a fair, not by how many people showed up.
Well, it strikes me that these fairs end up becoming a bit of more of a social event
Totally.
than an art buying
Right.
event. It's it's sort of it's immersive, it's experiential.
Right.
People can come and window shop
Or be
and-
seen.
or be seen, and they can buy some wine or have some food or whatever the case.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, it feels like the galleries are now sort of deciding or being more vocal about the mediocre results.
Yeah. Well, I think for a long time, probably most of these galleries just went along with it. I remember when I was running Crewest, I never did a fair ever because I didn't think I was gonna come back with more money than I had before. It just didn't make sense to me financially. But when I talked to other galleries, they always say the same or similar thing. They'd say, "Oh, we're going because we have to. We're going because, if we're going to play in the space, then we have to be there." And I'm like, fuck that.
Says who?
Yeah, says who? If you want to play that game, which I found out that's mostly what galleries do is play a game, which is probably why most artists now don't like galleries.
Now, how did you find that out? I mean, obviously you have a unique story because you're an artist that have shown in galleries, but also you had owned a gallery and ran a
Right.
gallery.
Yeah.
So those are two very different experiences, right?
Right.
What did they teach you?
I mean, there's a laundry list of things that I can talk about, but the first thing I learned was that whatever gallery you're talking to, you really don't know what's going on behind closed doors. You don't know what's going on in the back room.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't know what's going on, and where they're making their money, or just how much money they are making. Because a lot of these galleries, you look at them and they got a swanky space, and they have all kinds of stuff going on, and you're like, wow, these guys are making it. I want to show there. And then you realize a lot of it is bullshit. They're not making it. They're barely making ends meet. They can barely afford, where they're at. They're in a lot of debt, right? Or the other flip side is that it's some millionaire person who is like, wouldn't it be cool to have a gallery and have a bunch of people show up every month?
Pet project.
And yeah. So you have a lot of those too. And those actually are the most confusing as an artist, because you show up and there's red dots everywhere, and you're like, oh man, these people really know what they're doing. No, they don't. They just have a lot of rich friends,
Right.
And so all their rich friends come and buy shit, and then next thing you know, they're successful. And so it's kind of like and that's where galleries, smaller galleries, newer galleries end up losing, because you can't compete with people who have $1 million budgets. You can't compete with people who have celebrity friends on their database, or not even their database, on their phone, on
Right.
speed dial. So for me, it was always about showing good art and showing good shit and what I believed in. And what I realized is a lot of these galleries, they don't believe in these artists. They want to make the money, they want to sell the work, but they don't really believe in them, and they only believe in them if they're really making the money. So it's kind of like this vicious circle.
But aren't galleries meant to help artists develop their careers?
That's one way of looking at it. But there's, I think it's a majority of successful galleries are actually just thinking about themselves and how they can make it and how they can make, a bigger play in the global market.
I hope the artists out there are paying attention right now.
They're probably not. They're probably smoking out, getting high. The typical artist.
Yeah, man.
It's so funny because, that's
I know
what
what you're talking about.
that's what everyone assumes artists are. By the way, I don't smoke weed. No, I don't. Never have.
Yeah, well, more for me.
But people always just assume that I smoke
Well,
weed.
they've seen your art.
Yeah,
I mean, any reasonable person
they
who
see my
looks at your
bloodshot
art
eyes every day.
would bet that you're on drugs.
Yeah. I act like I'm on drugs because I don't get any fucking sleep.
I actually think if you were on drugs, your art would be, much less interesting. It would mellow you out,
Probably.
So, what is good art?
I don't know. That the only thing I do know is that I don't know that.
So, what is? So, what?
I don't know shit about art. That's what I learned. The main takeaway from owning a gallery,
Yeah.
and for 10 years and having been an artist my whole life, is that I don't know shit about art. That's the only thing I know.
Is that why you're happy that we've called our podcast "Not Real Art"?
It's the best explanation for what's out there right now, or not out there. I mean, I've had in situations where I put up a piece in in a gallery show by another artist, and I did so just as a favor or because I promised someone I would, And when they delivered the piece, I was like, that is a piece of shit. That art is the worst painting I have ever seen in my life. Like I'm embarrassed to hang it.
Right.
But I gave the guy my word that I'd hang 5 pieces, and he brought me 5. And the 4 were great, but the 5th one was horrible. And then I just said, you know what, fuck it. Just hang it, you know?
Right.
And guess what piece sold first that night, opening night?
Of course.
Cash. Fucking guy came and pulled out
Red Dot.
$3,500 cash and said, I want that painting.
Well,
So I don't know
That's
shit.
the mystery.
I don't know shit.
Well, you know, beauty in the eye and all that, right?
Yeah.
Has there ever been a gallery called the Red Dot Gallery? Clearly there has been.
That's probably been 100 of them.
100 of them.
Yeah.
It's a chain.
Yeah. It's a chain.
Red Dot Gallery.
Yeah. And the
Red Dot Art Gallery.
the red dot gallery probably exists everywhere. And
Where does the red dot come from? Like, what's the story of the red dot?
India. That's what I
Is
think.
that a racist joke?
Maybe it's more a religious joke. I have no idea where that comes
The
from.
red dot. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be an interesting study, or not.
Well, the other thing is, how big should the red dot be? Because you know, when you go buy red dots, they sell them like at, you know, art supply stores and things like that, and they're pretty small. But then if you need to get some red dots quickly, you go to, you know, Target or Office Depot, and they have big red dots. You know, so I've been to galleries where they put the big giant red dot, and then the other galleries where they put the tiny red dot. So, you know, what does that say about the gallery? Is someone bragging that they sold a piece if it's a bigger dot?
I mean, I'd like to want to use those red stars that we used to get, you know, on our
Right.
papers in elementary school. It's like a, you know, red star.
Yeah, I think that would be better. Then they have pins, you know? They have like red dot pins.
Yes, I've seen that as well.
And that means, fuck you can't afford it. But someone else can.
Well, my friend,
Yeah.
I have enough financial problems now. You're reminding me of what I can and cannot afford. Fuck you for that. We're out of time.
Put a dot on it.
Have a good one, man.
All right, you too.
Late.
Peace out.